you're
But now I'm
100% right,
trapped in a
but there's
corner.
no reason to take that risk.
Yeah.
There-
And then I'm trapped in a corner with Duchess, which is not great.
Nobody puts Duchess in the
Here
corner.
I can take a free target lock with Grand Inquisitor, and I added Fire Control just because I had the points. I think it's 2 points, correct?
Yes.
So here I can take the free target lock because no one's looking at them, and I can just use that Fire Control for as many turns as I need, which was actually a really good addition to Grand Inquisitor. Not necessary, but pretty good if you can take a free target lock like this.
Now, Paul, one of the things I noticed about your play, and then also Duncan later on in Texas, the last System Open, the final one. You were very comfortable taking the Swarm. Obviously, you started in the block, but you were very comfortable taking them out of the block and creating these kill boxes. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I mean, you have to at some point do that. You can't keep them in the block forever and just fly them as one giant ship. Man, look how far Duchess went. Jeez, I hate Duchess.
From the Buzz Droid to the other end of the map. So that's half the board distance right there.
Yeah, you even pointed it out on the map just there. But yeah, you can't just stick around and fly constantly. You have to just get shots, and to do that, you have to kind of spread your arcs out a little bit, and also sometimes you'll be using one guy as a blocker to set up for the other guys, or you'll have guys hanging out on the. What are you drawing on here? You'll have guys hanging out on rocks.
That might have been Marcel.
Yeah, Marcel went a little crazy. I think right there he was suggesting the idea that Soontir has the option to change direction and go around the backside there. Would you? I don't think you do, but I think he was saying that you could.
I think I play around this rock a little bit. Soontir is weirdly the most expensive part of my list, but also the most fragile. But he's a really good insurance policy. I think my bid at this point was like 17 points. So if you just kind of pretend all my ships are worth 17 more points than they actually are, then you're golden.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and it might not be obvious to some players. What's the value in that?
There is a value in that. It's the fact that like whenever a ship dies, you're conserving a little bit of MOV. Bids are extremely important when flying 2 5s and a 6 especially, because I like to move last. I mean, I can make the decisions based on what Paul's doing. If Paul had a Sun FAC in his list, for example, I think I definitely would have outbid him at 183.
Yeah.
I think Paul's only gone that deep once on bid. Paul's not a bidder, but either way. Additionally, you have Sense in the list. But it's when a ship dies. Sorry, I got off track. It's when a ship dies. Let's say I lose Duchess. So they've only gotten 59 points. They have to destroy all the ships on the board in order to get the full 200. So let's say they kill Grand Inquisitor and Duchess, but not Soontir. So instead of having 65 points on the board, I have 82 because they have not destroyed points that don't exist.
That makes sense. It's just being able to conserve that in the end game can be absolutely huge. There's been plenty of games that we've had, that we've streamed where somebody won because of the bid, right? You have two maybe even similar lists where it was like, hey, if you would have taken a bigger bid, you would have been fine.
Yeah, it's a lot more of an advantage than just moving last. But you do sacrifice potential upgrades. There were a lot of potential upgrades I could have put into this list, or different pilots or anything like that. It didn't matter. Like if first order was random.
So Paul, here you're going pretty aggressive at that Duchess in the corner.
Yeah, she's in the corner, and I mean, I was pretty sure that he was just gonna try to get out, just try to escape. Meanwhile, I have this annoying Inquisitor nipping at my heels, and God only knows what Soontir's going to do. But I kind of assumed that Duncan was going to be somewhat cagey with Soontir, and I just assume at this point that I'm never catching Soontir when Duncan's flying it. So just like, whatever, Soontir, do whatever you want.
Paul, your brown droids are the are the ones that have the buzz droids on them, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I already killed one who already shot
Yep.
his, and that's sitting in the middle of there. So that's still creating a huge no-fly area. If you look here, I don't have any telestration ability, but if you look, like if Soontir had done a 3 bank to the right here,
Oh yeah,
I'm
if he
sitting
went
right in
in.
buzz droid range. Yeah,
Mhm.
if I had gone in, and I can't go in right just yet. A
Yeah.
crit on Soontir, despite his shield upgrade, is still pretty bad. And I don't want to be in the middle of all that, especially when the droids are extremely mobile with their blue turns and barrel roll calculates.
Yeah.
I find that
Yeah,
a
so
lot.
right now
Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
we're just going at Duchess, trying to make arcs, trying to get those 2 points into Duchess and get 30 points, and force Duncan to have to like kill another ship.
Yeah. So the other turn, if I had done some sort of maneuver that put me behind a swarm but in the corner, again, I'm trapped in the same corner situation where Paul could have trapped me. It would have
Yep.
taken probably another turn, but then also I have Duchess and Inquisitor in the same spot, and Paul could have just taken the target of opportunity. At this point, I have to make Paul shoot at one target and make that target the one he doesn't want to shoot. So I'm sitting out there, range 2 to 3, with a force and an evade. Not great, but not terrible.
Yeah, I'm actually was a little surprised that you did the 1 turn there, but because I was expecting the like 1 bank and then like 3 forward or 3 bank and then more nonsense and just getting out.
I think my dice have to give out eventually. I'm not gonna just take 23 points off you and run away for the rest of the game. I have to keep the pressure on in a way.
Fair, yeah.
Because the more pressure I put on is actually relieves pressure off me. It's fewer blocks. Like you lose a ship, that's less chance for you to be able to block me and stuff like that. And I can't play like this forever.
So next, let's go ahead and move to the. I guess we're gonna get some attacks here, but I want to talk a little bit about the role of the Inquisitor and how good he is at controlling the middle of the map. Maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We got a couple of attacks. Soontir being a god.
Just roll natties.
Yeah, that's the strategy of this game. I think
Fortunately, I could do it too.
Yeah. Spent your own and somebody else's.
Yep.
So that's the strength of network calculations there.
It's glitter stim for everybody, but they do run out eventually. However, I don't think having any more than Paul has is actually necessary. You'll notice I think D talks about it a lot on his podcast. If I can say something about other podcasts here.
It's fine. This is fine, man. This is for the campaign against cancer. You say whatever you want.
Got it. So anyway, yeah. So D mentions it a lot on his podcast about like there's a few things you want to have in droid swarms, and Paul does not have a relay, i.e., Kraken or TA 175. I don't think that's necessary to have. I mean, I won the Texas System Open the same way. Like 6, 7 calculates are enough.
Yeah, I agree. You only really need like TA 175 if you have an alternate thing like a seer to spend your calculates with. And with just like what we were running, like my my Nantex here and your hyenas on yours, there's no reason to need for a relay. I need you to stop rolling crits. Look at that, 3 crits.
No, can't. Did I have Predator there?
Can't stop.
Yeah, you
won't
did.
stop.
You can't stop rolling evades. What are you talking about? At least I'm getting some crits through. There were no direct hits in here, I don't think, but I was hoping.
So the crits that got dealt out there, you got a hull breach on one of the droids and a structural damage on the other. Or no, sorry, a weapons failure. Excuse me.
Tried. Oh, the weapon failure. That was the one you kept around for until the end of time. That droid tried real hard.
Yep, rolling that 1 die. I just had too much important stuff to do. He had to feed the rest of the swarm his calculate token, so he never had the chance.
I mean, that's fair. I think he was there to serve as a resource for everybody else.
Yep, and to try to block things and just be annoying.
And for everybody watching at home right now, I want to remind you guys that you are watching the Campaign Against Cancer Telethon event. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check for those donation details in the description down below. So the attacks keep coming here. I think finally Almost damage comes through, but evades are good. I heard.
Yeah, so at this point, I still have done 0 damage to Duncan's list, and I've taken 1 dead ship and 2 crits. So I was feeling pretty bummed at this point.
Yeah, but I think in 2-ish turns is where I supremely mess up. I got in my own head. Before we get to that, you wanted to talk about the role of the Inquisitor?
Yes.
The Inquisitor is bait. He's there to never take any damage, and if people keep shooting at him, he just never dies. I think I was watching Ollie's Worlds play. What role was that? Oh, Center dodged. I was watching Ollie's Worlds play, and he described the Inquisitor, like the math behind an evade token and double force and your ability if you need to use it is insane. But right now he just kind of acts as a pea shooter here, just picking off droids. He's got a fire control system and 2 force that he doesn't need to spend. So he can just kind of get 1 damage on a droid here and 2 on a droid there. So he's good on offense and defense. His ability was a little changed since first edition, in the fact that when they're at range 3, they still get the range 3 bonus.
And then you also get that defensive ability, right? I know it probably didn't apply too much in this game, but there probably were moments where you decreased that incoming range 1 shot.
There were a couple, yeah. When you get 4 dice thrown at you, let's say you're sitting there with an evaded 2 force. If you're sitting there and they can throw 4 dice at you, there are odds that you will take 1 damage almost always. But if you reduce it to 3, there's still chances you can take 0, despite spending a force.
Profit, I would say.
Yeah, force is really good, turns out.
And this is just me making sure Sintier is playing fair and running away like he should be.
Yeah, like I said, most expensive part of the list, but the part I really don't want to lose.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way Duncan's like doing a 1 hard in here, but in case he is, this will screw him pretty hard. But yeah, obviously you weren't going to do that.
You know me so well, Paul.
Well, it's always that interesting game, right? It's like that Duncan definitely shouldn't, right? But Duncan, would you say that there's been those times where it's like, you know what? I think this is that opportunity to take the maneuver that I shouldn't do?
Mm-hmm. I was talking about that. I just talked about that a little bit earlier, is when you kind of switch in a really aggressive move. And you'll see that 3-4 turns down the road. I definitely threw Paul off. I couldn't profit off of it. I don't know if you recall this turn coming up, Paul. But either way, you just kind of throw in an aggressive maneuver and it takes your opponent on their back heel, and you can somehow profit off of it because they didn't see it coming.
Now, Paul, the next thing I want to talk about, you're in your maneuvers here. I want to talk about how much ground these vultures are able to cover with that barrel roll, that hard 2 barrel roll, being able to clear that stress. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Like 90% of my moves are a 2-turn barrel roll with these ships. I just do it constantly with them just to try to, because you have to, especially against the triple ace list, you have to have like target priority ADD where you can't stay focused on any one ship, because if you do, then like he's just gonna rabbit with it and like make you regret doing any of that. So if you can kind of switch targets repeatedly so that he doesn't really know what your actual real target is, then maybe you can kind of take advantage of like a mistake that he eventually makes when he pushes forward with a ship that he's wasn't planning on you targeting, or he was going to rabbit with something, like say I kept on Duchess here, but then he rabbits with it. Now he's like, well, I didn't need to, but I did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Good call on my maneuver here, Paul, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again, Duncan?
I said Paul really calls my maneuvers here with Chortek. Sorry.
All right, so we're gonna see. You see the you see your right hand, like, well, I guess you guessed this one.
Yeah. He did. So I the 3 bank into Chortek would have been really good if he didn't turn his arc right to that size, and I just have to arc dodge him here, which is, I mean, think about all the places Duchess could have been right there. Could have been anywhere near Soontir, taking a pot shot at that droid, but then I'm in a couple arcs. Not a great place to be. Just take the KG maneuver here, and now I'm behind Paul's entire swarm, and he's not going to K-turn all of them next turn.
Especially since they're all stressed.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Turns out 2 hard barrel will calculate does stop you from K-turning. I think this was probably one of my first mistakes here. Not the maneuver. I thought the maneuver was okay. I think it was the barrel roll. It didn't take me as far as I wanted to go, and I should have just taken the evade token. I was debating here. Actually, wait, that droid still has buzz droids, correct?
Yeah, I haven't launched any of the other buzz droids yet.
Oh, so maybe that was the right call, the barrel roll. I didn't think about that until now. But anyway, I barrel roll here, take a focus, and stress myself. Or do I? Do I stress myself? I feel like that was the mistake, not stressing myself.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
A blast
Yeah,
from the
so
past.
I think I don't stress myself. I dodge one of those Grey Droids arcs. I don't dodge one of the arcs like I was expecting to, of the other 2. So I basically trade an evade token, which is a guaranteed cancel hit, to not go against 2 dice, which is not bad. But I don't stress myself with the focus, thinking that the 2 force is good enough, and it definitely wasn't here. I think I lose shields here on the Inquisitor. But I didn't want to make my maneuvers next turn very predictable to Paul.
So yeah, you did not stress there, and Soontir is out.
Yeah, Soontir is there to clean up in the end game. Still acts as bait. He's doing a decent job at it. Paul's going to take some shots. They're not going to matter.
Now, you were talking about Duchess a little bit. Go ahead and, for anybody who maybe doesn't know her ability, just give us a rundown of that.
Yeah, so Duchess has the adaptive ailerons. She can... all the other strikers have this ability where they can, before they do their maneuver, do a boost, basically. It's not a boost, but it's basically a boost. And what you can do there with Duchess is she can do it while she's stressed, which the other strikers cannot do. But she can also choose not to do it. So that gives her basically equivalent maneuverability of a decloak. You can just kind of go wherever you want. You dial in a generic maneuver, and you choose 2 or 3 places you want to end up depending on what they do, and you just decide later.
It's super annoying to try to plan around it with a swarm, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even if they do block most of your maneuvers, you just get blocked by the one that's least disadvantageous to you, and you still have a force backing you up. Here, I just did a boost straight with Soontir just to, because if I had boosted left behind that gas cloud, it would have shown Paul where I was going, and it would have gotten Soontir potentially trapped in a corner. So I didn't want to telegraph where I was going. Don't know if that works versus Paul all the time, but we try. So this was the Inquisitor's attack, fire control into nothing. If I had the focus, I think that droid is damaged. I probably would have spent it there, and wouldn't have done anything.
You still spent the force.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I did spend the force. I was thinking you had a damage on you. I was thinking I could kill you.
Yeah, he took another crit because of the major hull breach, and
yeah, that's why I did that. Because if I had a focus, I would have spent it and conserved the 2 4s. But I potentially, if you hadn't rolled 2 symbols out of that, I could have killed you and reduced 3 dice coming at me, which is huge.
Yep.
But I didn't, and we're about to get punished.
My weapon damage guy almost got a point of damage into Soontir. Almost.
Don't ask for more than you need. All you do is roll exactly what you need.
You don't want to get greedy, right?
No, it's like everyone's like, "Oh man, 4 natties here," but there's only 2 hits coming in. No, you just need 2, because then you're gonna get those 2 are gonna disappear forever.
That's right.
We're not superstitious at all here.
No, not at all. All right, so
since you spent your force, that means you didn't have it to reduce my attack die either.
Again, so here, if I had it, if I focused, I could have reduced your attack dice and spent the force there, being out of force, but then I would have taken 0 damage on that shot. Theoretically.
Yeah. So now I caught up. So now I'm only 5 points behind you instead of 23. So yeah, that was a huge turn for me.
Yeah, it was. So that was definitely a mistake not taking the focus there. But I was thinking a turn ahead, trying not to telegraph my maneuvers. And I wanted to do a 3-bank to the left. And then I figured you probably called that. And you could have turned your entire droid swarm if I had turned like a 1 or 2 hard, 1 hard to the left. Not a 2 hard, sorry, looking at the angle. If I'd done a 1 hard to the left, you could have caught it with your entire droid swarm. So I figured at range 1. So I figured, why don't we do the unpredictable thing? And then I ended up getting blocked, which was the end of the Inquisitor. And then you're ahead on points.
Yep. That poor, what was he, like, stunned, hull breach, target locked guy just ended up doing that one turn there and held his stress. Like, you'll notice most of my guys hold their stress here and just do the 1 turns just to try to sneak a shot in somehow. Because, yeah, I figured you were going to do the left bank and away, and I was like, oh well. And I hope I try blocking it with that top left guy. I don't know. I don't remember what I did at this point.
Yeah, I was talking to you after you went out, and I was like, Paul, you didn't expect the 3-bank? And he was like, I did. I just didn't care. And I was like, oh man, I thought you were gonna try to finish off one of my ships, but if I had done the 3-bank to the left, I could have just done it. You know, I could have just gotten away with it.
Yeah, I have no idea why I didn't actually barrel roll that guy to block the bank.
I don't know.
I
think you are blocking the 1 hard here, I think.
Oh, maybe that's why. Yeah, I was expecting to do a hard turn here and bail out that way rather than the bank out.
But had I been stressed last turn, this turn would have been so much harder, but I would have been at
full
mount.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part there. And I think my 3 straight is blocked by that bus droid.
Mm-hmm.
I think another reason I didn't want to go around this was because Chertek probably could have thrown me on a rock. But that's another reason I didn't dial up the 3-bank. And Duchess couldn't come in here to support the Inquisitor to kill off a droid that would have killed the Inquisitor, unfortunately.
I mean, that was definitely a scary spot for the Inquisitor to be in, because let's say you had taken the focus and you were stressed. I mean, you're probably in the same situation, right?
A very similar one. The risks I took last turn would have just been pushed forward to this turn. Maybe better, maybe worse. Because I would have been stressed, but I wouldn't have taken any damage last turn. I think if the I wouldn't have taken any damage. I'd be down to 1 force. I probably would be in the same situation. Very similar one, but it feels better to, think about what if. But Paul definitely would have caught me with Chertek here. If he did like a boost 1 forward and turn his arc forward, maybe, or to the side of Duchess, I think is what he does.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was really hard in thought trying to figure out, do I go after Duchess here or go after the Inquisitor?
God, it's hard to believe this was 8 months ago.
Yep. Long time ago.
Yeah, but only one of the last X-Wing tournaments ever.
Don't say it like that. Ever.
One of the last ones we've had in a while.
Yeah, there you go. All right, now
this was the prequel to 2020.
That's right, the prequel.
And for some reason, I have no idea why. I just evade with no token.
Oh, you didn't even
anywhere.
turn your arc. Yeah, so after you put all this stuff down, I was like, oh my god, I messed up so bad. And I only have 1 ship, pestering you. I think you did that so you would have 3 evade dice and the evade token. Just because you didn't want Duchess getting a bad crit into you, which she definitely could have done if you had tractored.
Here's the maneuver from the Inquisitor. Beautifully guessed by the telestration. Actually, I can hear the players at the table, so I'm pretty sure I just heard Duncan say it.
Like, oh, you got me.
Got him. Now, here's a subject that comes up a lot as well. So Soontir right now obviously is out of the fight. He needs to come back around. How do you balance, the trying to disengage and come around, at another angle, versus staying relevant and a threat, right? Because Paul, when you've talked about this turn, you haven't even mentioned Soontir. You're essentially like, he doesn't matter in that turn. But Duncan, how do
You'll
you?
find I don't mention Sintir ever. Like,
Right.
it's just kill the other two ships and hope Sintir doesn't hurt me too badly.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to get a grasp on, and it's probably one of the harder parts of playing aces. Otherwise, everyone would just play them all the time, because the hard part about swarms and lower initiative ships is you have to you have to be able to guess where people are going to be without perfect information like I can. Um, I mean, that's all I got to say. It's just the harder part. Paul can basically ignore Soontir here for a little bit. I wanted to get a little more stuff off the board because, like I said, the more stuff I take off the board is fewer times I can get blocked by Soontir or blocked on Soontir.
It's true, all of it.
Except getting blocked is not the worst thing. You could still get a focus if you line it up right.
Yeah, that is something that a lot of people miss. That sometimes being blocked, depending on the number of ships left on the board for your enemy ship, being blocked could be a good thing.
Yeah, I've plenty of times run into like a Boba Fett who, like, if you play a KG, you probably won't be able to arc dodge, but you'd be like range 1 in arcs. Might as well just bump him and get a focus token. Why not?
So the Inquisitor here bumps into the droids, looking at his death. And like you said, Duncan, it would be definitely a different story if you had not taken the two shields, because you would have had a chance. I don't remember exactly how much damage you take here, but
I think I die.
I mean, yeah.
Pretty sure he dies here to three range 1s, a range 2, and another range 2 with no mods whatsoever.
You had one force.
I had one force to regen. And Soontir's just going off doing his own thing.
Yeah, at this point, Sintir can do whatever he wants. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do about it. So I'm like, cool, Sintir's over there now. Okay.
So one of the next things, just a fun topic I'd like to hit here. Duncan, you seem to be a big fan of Legos. I see most of the time your ships have some type of Lego pairing.
Yeah, I honestly will probably not fly a list unless I can find a decent amount of Legos to fit all my pilots. It's just a thing. I feel like the Maryland guy started, but I feel like I'm going to catch a lot of flack if I say that, so I don't know 100%.
So scrub that from the record. It hasn't been said. Continue.
Yeah, it has not been said. But it's just a thing we like to do locally.
Yeah.
You just throw a lot of Legos on your ship, so you get a TIE pilot, and there's actually that one's actually a Striker pilot on Duchess. Like, they have Legos for everything. Might as well throw it on there. I started doing it when I flew 2 Reapers in Soontir.
I remember.
Gen Con.
Yes.
I like put one on 2 pegs and one on 1, and I think 3 times before anything activated, some guy asked me like, "Hey, which one's which?" And I was like, "Okay." So after like 3 times, I'm like, I got to find a better way to differentiate. So I got the Lego thing as a way to do it, and it works. Really minimal confusion, and it's just a way to have fun, right? Like, if you're flying 3 different ships, not much room for confusion, but it's still fun.
Oh yeah. I'm a Lego fan myself. It's one of those where I hadn't realized that the minifigures' hands perfectly fit around the base stems. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's crazy how perfect that is. So I was just like, you know what, we'll just keep doing it. For medium and large bases, you can find like creative ways to do it. I take a 2x1 flat piece and like double-sided tape it to the base. Doesn't really cause any damage to the base, and you can put anyone you want on there. So my Han Solo base has like 2 pegs, so I put Han and Lando on there when I flew a list like that. I think I put R2 on there when I flew that, so you can swap them out best you feel. Did I take a crit here?
Yep. One
No.
crit sneaks in.
Paul, why do you got to roll so good?
I have to tell you, I was really hoping that the weapon damage guy was going to be the one that finishes him off. But,
isn't that the best feeling?
The one die. Yes, I remember
but
throughout. Go ahead.
yeah, here we go. It's like 1 point of overkill. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you didn't take damage the previous turn, it would have been my other two guys shooting at him. So you might have still died.
Maybe. You never know. Statistically, he probably should have died, but. So now I'm behind, which is terrible.
Yep.
And I don't think Duchess did anything here.
No,
Nope.
yeah, she whiffed on her
She
attack.
got 2 hits and I got 2 evades. So
Yeah, she's got time.
so yeah, now at this point I'm like, okay, Duncan has to play more aggressively. So here we go. Like just try to fight Duchess, because if I can kill Duchess, then I'm relatively sure there's not enough time for Suntir to get ahead. I mean, it's a 2-hour game, so maybe Duncan still manages it, but I'm like, if Duchess dies, then I'll win.
Yeah, I mean, at this point of the game, you guys have 50 minutes left. So, Duncan, here's an opportunity to talk about this a little bit. You know, you have these two ships. Obviously, you can't just joust them. Maybe talk to us a little bit about like cycling ships in and out. How do you choose when you have so many? You know, obviously Paul had so many ships left. You had to come up with some type of game plan to try to get ahead.
Yeah, I think at this point, with the build that he has on Trotec, like it's just something that's just kind of going to be an annoyance, and I can't really take it off the board. As nice as it would be to score that many points, how many points is that thing worth? Well, it's covered up by your name. It was worth a decent amount.
He was 51
51
points.
So if I get that, I win. But the droids are so much easier to take care of. Paul's not going to let me take Trotec. I just got to pop droids, and again, that's fewer bodies on the board for me to get caught in a bad situation. So it's kind of like, there's a couple droids sitting at 1 and 2 and 2. I think those are the ones you got to go for if he presents it to you. And you know, you encounter scenarios where it you got to do the math in your head. You can't have a calculator right there, but you just kind of play the odds and hope you get something off the board. Best target. I think there's a time later where I'm deciding there's a droid at 2 health. At range 2, and there's a droid at 3 health at range 1, so you're like, well, which one do I go for? Stuff like that. You got to do all that math in your head. But again, you got, like, he's got 6 bodies and I got 2, so you still got to play kind of cagey even though you're behind on points.
Now, Paul, with these droids, obviously in this situation, Duchess is the obvious target. You know, Suntir hasn't entered the battlefield quite yet. Can you maybe talk us through a little bit on your target priority? Are you more in the realm of thought of, you know, kind of take what my opponent gives me? I'm going to go after a certain ship. Maybe just a little bit of your thoughts on that.
Sure. At this point, it was kill Duchess and ignore Suntir, if at all possible. There's no thoughts to must get Suntir. Like I wanna keep Suntir honest by, you know, like at this point for some reason I like threw that guy on did a Talon roll onto the rock there, just to be like, hey Suntir, you can't just boost in here and fight. Like you have to pay some attention to the ships that are getting arc on you. So at this point, it's let's hope I get especially if I get a tractor token onto Duchess, which I mean shouldn't happen, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. But I'm just getting a large group of arcs pointed in Duchess's general direction and forcing her to run away, and then I'll chase her down, or he gets super aggressive because he's behind on points just to try to get ahead again, and maybe makes a mistake and I stay ahead on points.
Now, another subject I'd like to hit with you guys is in the commentating booth, it's always really hard for me to know if the players are paying attention to the score, like the actual numbers. Are you guys doing that math in your head on how many points is each ship, or you kind of have it like by the number exactly? You do it more by feel, this ship's about this many points? Duncan, we'll start with you.
To me, it's more about feel. I do a good amount of math in my head. I usually ask my opponent for like a squad list or something like that. Before, I think here multiple times I ask you what the score is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just too much to pay attention to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the same. I don't pay a ton of attention to the score. I just kind of have to guess. It feels like I'm ahead, or behind.
because if you sit there and you're thinking and you ask your opponent, what's the score? How much are these ships worth, or something like that? That triggers something in a lot of people where they know what your strategy is right now. They know that you're like, oh, this guy might run for points if he's ahead, and they're thinking the same thing too. So if you do it all in your head and kind of do rough approximations, they don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, several times during, I think, towards the end of the game, you guys turned to me and just asked for the score. And for anybody who's watching, especially I know that we have a lot of new players, even since this event happened. Essentially, if we're in the final and the players ask, I just double check to make sure all the damage is accurate, and I share it with them. It's debatable. People have had many debates on whether or not that should be okay. I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, guys. Duncan and Paul have basically looked at it as like, you're just saving us time so that we can play.
Yeah, it's open information that both people could easily figure out.
Yep.
It's just not worth the time. Weirdly enough, like if that's if it's
As long as you're not
readily available to me, like I won't take the time to do it. But
as
if
long
we're
as you're
on
not
last
secretly doing it or something like, haha, hey Duncan, all you need to do is kill this one thing,
Right.
and not also mentioning it to me,
Yeah.
then because that would be bad.
The Gold Squadron earpiece, right? Just like hand it to one person, be like, here we go.
you know I'm Dion's favorite, Paul, though, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
He's my favorite Duncan. You're my favorite Paul.
Ooh, nice.
That's it. And I will tell you, I know more than one of each.
Oh, I've only met one other Duncan in my life.
No, I know 3 Duncans.
You know 3 Duncans?
Yeah, what?
Oh, I want to meet them so we can complain about Duncan stuff together.
All right,
A
so
lot of
this
things
was
to complain about.
the super important, can I borrow that guy's token and not die? So we forced Chris to measure if that guy was in range 1.
I mean, that's the judge's job, right?
Yeah, Chris did a lot of work this game. I think I basically just made him do my entire thing for me by the end. Got to make him work, right?
Well, I mean, I know, we all love Chris, and Chris Allen, by the way, if anybody who doesn't know that name, he's the one, the judge there on the top left
Hi,
of your
Chris.
screen.
So yeah, that guy that I, for whatever reason, did that Talon roll there, just ended up getting vaporized. So maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do. But the strange thing is, even though I lost the ship, I'm still ahead on points.
Yeah, about that.
One thing it did do is it cleared some space for Duchess for the following turn. Because then you don't have that ship out there as a blocker for both Soontir
Yeah, I
and
was
Duchess.
really hoping the rock guy would end up being a blocker, because there's so much nonsense that you can do with a droid on a rock to block things. Like I could either turn and barrel roll, or I can just do the 2 forward and barrel roll. Like his job was next turn was going to be just to be a super nuisance, but instead he just died.
Mm-hmm. So for anybody watching and wondering why were the dice flashing, I think I was singing a song while flashing the dice because they had forgotten to take it out of the box. That's all. But they were going to be rolling some more dice here, so that's why I didn't turn it off. So let's see, you got 1 hit coming in, out the box. We're fine. I think.
Yeah, I only managed to get 2 shots this turn, which is really bad when you're flying a swarm.
Yeah, it turns out. I mean, also, like, Duchess can kind of just be wherever she wants. I think this is the turn I was talking about, Paul, where I just kind of switch up into something unpredictable, which I think you verbally said at that point, like, it threw you off.
Yeah, I was expecting you to not do the, 3 bank with Duchess there, since I was like, oh, he has to get ahead on points, therefore he has to be a lot more aggressive. And watch Chris knocking out the marker that he's used for marking things. But I'm like, since he has to be aggressive and get ahead on points, he's got to take shots. And like, I wasn't really expecting the 3 bank there, but it obviously was the right move. So that's where you like came ahead and made it so I could only take 2 shots, and nothing happened.
I mean, the one benefit about playing against swarms is you'll almost always have targets on arc. So. This was where I think I get Duchess out of here with like a 1 straight 3 bank, and then I just bring in Soontir with a 5 straight right into your face.
And right there, we were talking at the table and asking, like, is he going to get aggressive here, or is he going to 2-turn, and bring it back around the cloud? But like you said, you at this point you turn on that aggressiveness and just go for it.
I think it was more 1 turn of aggressiveness. I was still behind on points, but I still had time left and only behind by 4. It's not like it was like 150 to 0 and I had to be aggressive.
Mm.
You only need to do like 1 damage. It's the right guy.
Yeah, you had what, 2 guys above like half points?
Yep.
Or 1 point from half? Yeah. So I could have easily taken the lead at any point just with a little bit of damage. This is also the turn where the 5 straight on Soontir. I think I'm determining range 1 versus a guy at full or range 2 versus a guy at 2. Still not sure how that math works out. I haven't used Max Wing Brain in months.
Gotta massage that brain.
I don't know. Just online play doesn't interest me.
I'm gonna work on that brain. I got you.
Yeah.
I'm
You're gonna get it some more wrinkles.
That's right. All right, here. So you see Paul starting to spread out a little bit more. You have that vulture, middle left, starting to barrel roll. And are you threatening that too hard, Paul? Is that what's happening there?
This was, because I was like, well, he's going to do like a 2 bank with Soontir left and go hide.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I was not expecting a 5 straight. That was nowhere in my thought process was Soontir doing a 5 straight. So I'm like, okay, cool. Soontir's going to bank over there, hide behind the rock. I'm going to have a ship there ready for him to be a nuisance and like force him. Because again, my game plan is just make Soontir scared and have him run away.
Mm-hmm.
And while I hopefully do 2 damage to Duchess, or maybe even kill her. So I was totally unprepared for surprise. Here's Soontir.
Yeah, exactly. That was part of the reason why I did it.
Now we get our opportunity to see where Duchess is going.
Yeah, but then I think Soontir was just anemic this game. He did not do much work. I think later on I have like a range 1 crack shot, focus target lock shot at you, and I just whiff it all.
Yeah, that was great.
The one time this game you and I didn't roll natties.
Well, it's one of those where you can make all the right decisions, and sometimes there's a lot of schools of thought, right? You have the people out there who say like, oh, I always roll bad, right? Which math says that most likely they don't always roll bad. There's definitely situations.
Unless you have Jerry Russell's dice,
There's that 5 straight, and you got plenty of options as to where you're gonna go. Are you gonna go into the that Buzz Droid one, which is in front of him, or the blue?
Yeah, this is where he's asking which ones are the damaged ones, and you see me pointing to the different ships and being like, "That's this damaged one. That's that damaged one."
That's another subtle benefit to flying a list like this. I encountered that a lot in Dallas. Was this general confusion when all the ships are basically the same. Like, except I think mine was a little more mixed than yours, Paul. It looks like you have just 4 struts and 3 without struts and discords.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
mine was like they all have struts except for this one, but then 3 have discords, but not that one, and stuff like that. So that's another benefit to flying swarms like that. unspoken benefit.
So here, Paul, you go ahead and pass that tractor on to the vulture who passes away, or barrels away, excuse me. Do you think if that new tractor rule where you get to turn things 90, does that work on your own ships with the Nantex? I
Oh God, no! If it did, that'd be so amazing.
Okay, it's only enemy ships. Okay.
Yeah. No, they would be horribly dumb to make that a rule, because then I would be rotating my own guys and giving them better Discord missile shots and stuff all the time.
Yeah, at I-7 basically, or
Yeah,
I-8.
at I Infinite, yeah.
Jesus, I cannot imagine a world.
All right, that's great. I think it's important to bring up because there's definitely been questions about people like, oh, they should switch it, and there is a reasoning. That's the reason for it not existing, at least not right now.
Yeah, I'm glad they do some vetting on their playtesters.
Just a little.
Just a little bit, as a treat.
All right, so Paul, you're waiting for Duncan to make his decision here.
Yep, Sinter has to decide who he wants to shoot at, and this is where Duncan spends a little while trying to decide. Like, he can shoot at the tractored guy who's all the way over there, but I don't think that guy was damaged at all. He can shoot range 1 into one of these two guys. He can try to take shots on Chertek, because Chertek's worth more points than any two of my guys put together. So it was a lot of choices. So he decides on a range 1 shot and rolls horribly.
Yeah. I think I took the turtle, and then I was just, because I was taking 2 range 1 shots and a range 2 shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no reason for you to accept getting shot at.
Yeah, spending a focus there for only one result. Like, if it were giving me 3-4 hits, maybe. But oh well. Again, anemic Soontir right there.
Well, at least he stays dodgy, right?
Yeah, he can dodge. That's what he's good at.
Yep, so he spends the focus here to not take any damage. So good thing you didn't spend it on the attack there, otherwise you would have lost your shield. Yeah, so it was the right choice, definitely, to not take damage, to not do damage, so you would guarantee that you weren't taking any damage.
Now, I posed this question on the GSP Discord and Facebook earlier this week. Well, there's, I think, the shield on Soontir there. I posed a question that, if you had a list, and I gave you the option that you could only buff either defense or offense, what would it be? Just kind of that general idea.
Elaborate a little more, like what kind of benefit?
So I'm just thinking,
are taking a stealth device over like a fire control or something.
So I didn't necessarily want to qualify it because it's really easy to just compare base abilities on a chassis. I guess just the general idea of let's say the math was the same. I'm trying not to. I don't want to quantify it exactly because I don't know what those cards would be. I'm just curious to know your guys' approach. Do you have a more value on defense over offense, or is it strictly like, well, clearly this defensive ability is better than X offensive ability, so I'll take that one?
Can I ask one more follow-up question?
Yes.
Is the defensive bonus equivalent to the offensive bonus that you're talking about?
In this case, let's say yes.
Okay. Defense bonus all the way.
For me, if I'm behind, the offense bonus. If I'm ahead, the defense bonus.
Oh, that's not how the question works.
I know.
He's trying to break my question.
Yeah. I'd probably want the offense bonus because because I like doing damage and blowing things up.
Yeah, but you can't lose if you don't get hit.
And there is that, and that's a debate I wanted to bring up. You guys are so good at transitions. You guys are the best.
Yeah, Paul and I are a dyad in the Force.
Yeah, it's always really interesting because Duncan has his question that he asks people, like, do you prefer to lose because of bad dice or bad decisions? And like, we always have the exact opposite mentality on it, because I'd rather lose because of bad decisions, and Duncan would rather lose because of bad dice, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Like legit bad dice. Like if you like not, oh my god, my dice were terrible when they were actually just like statistically average. No, it's like, would you rather lose to a bad decision, like I made the wrong choices, or would you rather lose to the dice 100% screwing you? And I think I would rather lose to the dice.
That's interesting. Let's follow that. Why?
Well, I still, and this kind of leads into why Paul wants to lose because of bad decisions. I still remember a good amount of my losses I made because of a mistake. Like, oh man, like I like that turn where I turned the Inquisitor in, or a couple other things. If those were legit mistakes that I made, I remember those for a lot longer. And yes, you can learn from them, but they feel so bad. Especially on tables like as high as this one right here. And I'd rather lose 100% to my dice. I left everything on the table, and I just couldn't make it work. I made all the correct decisions. Like I tried to get my dice to be statistically good, didn't work out.
And Paul, opposite side.
I'm like Duncan. I remember like every game I lose because of a dumb decision. Like, for example, if I lost this game, I was going to be like, man, if I didn't throw away a ship on turn 4 for no reason at all, like how different would this game have been? And I would have been kicking myself for like weeks about it. But I'd much rather lose because of that, because then I'll be like, well, I'm never throwing a ship away like that again. I might throw ships away for other dumb decisions later on, but I'll hopefully not make that exact dumb decision again. So, and if I lose because of dice, like I always have the feeling like, well, I lost because of some other reason. I just can't identify it. And then I feel even worse because I'm like, there's got to be something I did or didn't do. Making Chris do one turn here into the bumping ship.
Yeah, and I think this game, like besides the Inquisitor was a minor mistake. it's more of make a gamble and lose instead of a mistake in my eyes. There's a fine line between the two. But it was nice to walk away from this game. Like I think I forgot about the loss. I didn't feel bad. I think by the time we went to dinner, right, Paul, where we went and you were famous to that woman. Yeah. What a good time. Anyway, yeah. So I basically forgot about it and just got over it by that time. I left everything on the table. I gave Paul my best effort, and it just didn't work out for me. So it doesn't feel bad, and then you just bounce right back to the next one. It's kind of like those moments when you're like about to go to sleep and you remember all that stupid stuff you did in high school. Yeah, I don't want to feel like that with X-Wing games.
There you go. That's super interesting. That is a great description. And I would say for those of you who are watching live right now, go ahead, have that debate. Which one would you? What camp do you fall into? How would you rather lose a game? I mean, nobody wants to lose, right? But if you had to choose,
we're live right now. Oh no.
Well. Yes and no.
I didn't know that.
Let's say that we are. Sure.
Okay. Yes, let's say that we are. Yeah, I don't know. It's always an interesting discussion because I think people are split about 50-50. And it doesn't, tier of player, it doesn't matter when it comes to this. It's just a very fun discussion to have at X-Wing events, I think.
Now, so we're putting forth this content. By the way, thank you again for Duncan and Paul for coming on and talking about this game. Have either of you played in a campaign against cancer event?
Paul, go ahead.
I have not. Not because I'm a terrible person, I hope, but
no, no worries.
The couple of times it just didn't come up at the right time, or it was at a time when I was sick of X-Wing, which that sometimes happens too, and I'm just like, man, I just want to not play.
Right, yeah, it definitely happens for sure. Well, because we had a couple of seasons where it was nonstop, right? Where it was just event after event. Not the last Worlds, but after the Worlds before that, we jumped straight into Store Championship season, and that's when we started doing the invite system. So it was there was no downtime. Essentially, it felt that way.
100%. That is the kind of the upside to no X-wing right now, or no in-person X-wing.
Yeah, now I really want to get back into it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm just revamping my energy for the game. But to answer your question, Dion, I think I've attended one, and just like Paul, they always fell on bad times. It's like Steel Open. I always wanted to go to one of those, but I just like I was working that weekend, or just like there were events and I had to like make a choice. And, like, oh, do I go to this regional that I really want to win to get an invite, or do I go to campaign? I was like, I kind of got to go to this regional. Again, I'm not a terrible person, I swear.
No worries, no worries. All right, so Paul here is making that Talon roll, getting ready to try to track down this Duchess.
And that guy still has that weapons disabled, so he's still only rolling the one die. Like his job there was just to block Duchess the previous turn, and now it's to stop Duchess from going away.
Well,
and like making the hard left and leaving.
That speaks to the flexibility of this droid swarm and the strength in numbers, right? Because even though that ship's been floating around now with a single hull, right? It needs Duncan to just look at it the wrong way. But you have so many threats coming in from different angles, and you got the threat of not only being shot, Duncan, but you have the discords to think about and the extreme maneuverability of these guys. They can go on rocks. I mean, I can remember the chat a little bit in this game when it was happening, and you could see people saying things along the lines of like, oh, why doesn't he, why doesn't he get more aggressive here? Why doesn't he point his arc? Like every turn, people wanted you to have turned in to get a shot, and everybody disagrees, right? That's one thing about looking at a board is everybody looks and makes decisions a different way. But this type of matchup is a pretty big threat, especially being down to only 2 ships at this point.
Oh, 100%. And again, like I have to get all this stuff out of my way. So like Paul, you said Paul has strength in numbers. The more I take off the board and the more I like focus fire on it, I can. 1, that's fewer calculates he gets. 2, that's fewer abilities for him to block. And 3, that he, just fewer shots I'm taking. So that's 100% the right call to just kind of focus on something and get it off. But I can't make a risk that's unnecessary. Because this game there was no way it was going to 200 points for one person.
All right, and Chertek comes screaming in here, ready to catch some Duchess.
Yeah, at this point you can see I'm just trying to get something into Duchess. Because I'm like, if I get 2 points on Duchess, that's 30 more points for me. So instead of me being barely ahead, he would have to kill 2 droids. So I just want to get something into Duchess here.
No, and that's 100% the right call. Cintur's off doing nothing.
Just hanging out, being a cool guy over there.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Paul was going to trap Suntir that turn too after Suntir took a risk and 100% whiffed on it. But he didn't. He wants Duchess, which is the right call. Duchess doesn't have as much defensive ability because she's capped by 2 evade dice. I mean, if they were both 3, could be close to equivalent, but it'd be a calculate and an evade versus a focus evade.
Yeah, at this point, I think I was assuming Duchess was going to make the 3 left bank, which is why I pointed Chertek's arc in that general direction. And I think I was completely wrong. But it was worth a shot.
I think.
What did I even do here? Did I do the 3 right bank?
Yeah. I'm fairly certain. I feel like I remember this. Or maybe you did the 3 straight, so like the bank and forward.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted the bank just to get that, 1 degree turn. It probably didn't matter, but it gave me a little bit more turn.
There it is. So now the next thing I want to talk about is the network calculation on these droids. Now, the current list building and the way points set out tell us that more droids are obviously better. But let's say things got shaken up, Paul, and I simply want to talk about network calculations. Like, how many droids do you think is the minimum amount you can have to really take advantage of that network calculations? Like, what's that magic number? If I'm trying to put, like, vultures and some other stuff, maybe I'm looking at, putting more than just one other ship than the vulture. How many do you think?
If you're not flying 8 ships, you're doing something wrong. So
100%. More bodies.
yeah. So if you put other ships in, that's fine. Like you can run a couple hyenas with your vultures.
That sounds
but
familiar.
they're the same thing with network calculations. But if you, I don't know, somehow magically fit a couple belly rubs in and some droids, as long as you're at 8 ships, that's fine. Cool. This is where Duncan tried to swing my guy away so he wasn't facing his ship.
Are you sure that's Chris doing that? Don't you blame
Yeah,
me?
actually, I think it was Chris. Yeah.
You blame me for Chris's sins. Well, if I'm going to beat you, I'm going to do it fair and square.
That's right.
I think you and I are still 50-50. I think you're taking more in 2.0 than I have, though.
You
Can't
guys
hide behind
were
my
trading.
Palpatine anymore.
You guys were trading blows quite a bit. Like the late first edition. You guys are still. I would still say from my viewpoint as a content creator and an archiver of these events, that you guys have performed pretty equally. I think that if people did a big board ranking, you guys would definitely be up there for sure.
So this turn could go really, really horribly for me. As you see, Cintier has target lock and focus.
I'm so mad.
Duchess is lined up on our good range one shot with Predator active. I'm like, well, I'm going to lose 2 ships here. This is going to suck.
Yeah, these last couple turns are where the natties that were coming out earlier just would. So, what do you do?
You hope. But the Empire's
because
not
obviously
built
if
on hope.
Duncan goes ahead here with 7 minutes left on the round, Duchess is gone, Suntier's gone, except he rolls 4 blanks and target locks into
2 hits, I think.
something terrible. Yeah, 2 hits. So I was perfectly okay with that because that was a fully healthy guy and he just took 2 normal damage and was fine. Yeah, you got ahead on points, but it happens. It was better than him dying.
And then
Duchess
again.
rolls similarly terribly. Look at that. 3 blanks and a Predator into a blank, and I dodge it.
Yeah,
cool.
This was not a good turn for me.
So I get shots back when I was expecting to get absolutely no shots this turn. Oh, the weapon disabled guy rolls a blank. He missed.
He tries.
Yep. I loved that guy.
That's all we can ask of Roger is that he
trying.
tries.
So I get 1 into Duchess. So almost there.
Was that the one into Duchess from the guy who I tried to kill?
Yes.
So could have saved myself some life if I had rolled a little better.
Yep. And then more importantly, the 1 into
Soontier as well, right?
Cintier. Yeah, so that got him in half. Yep.
Yeah, that was
Which I was not expecting that at all. And I was like, cool. The game just gave me that.
I was not expecting this turn to turn out the way it did either.
And it was a crit as well. It had a damage sensor array.
Could only perform the focus action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, and there was only 5 minutes left on the game at that point, so I think we were all sure that, hey, this is the last round coming up. So
I remember because tensions were high.
yeah.
I tried to take a focus action, and Paul told me I couldn't. Paul, that's the only thing I can do. Let me have this.
Stupid 2.0 and allowing you focus.
Yeah, what was damage sensor array in 1.0? It's you just
No
can't do
actions.
anything.
Yeah, well, other than fixing stuff, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could fix it.
It hurts the droids.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty good against droids.
Yeah, damage sensor array for me is, hey, you guys can't take any actions. So
Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you guys about is both of you by now have played quite a few times on the GSP stream or streams in general. Maybe just give us a little bit, because I know a lot of people, there's lots of different emotions about, like, not emotions about being on stream, but like when I roll up to you and I say, hey, do you want to be on stream? What are the thoughts that go through your head? I'm curious.
No. 100% no. I hate playing on stream so much.
You've done it from, though I will say, since you got a lot less camera shy up until like during like Texas, that like I forget even what month. Do you remember what month that was? I don't even remember.
I think that was the beginning of February.
Yeah, so like
Right?
February, January, December, you weren't that camera shy.
No, I was flying droids. It wasn't my like typical ace stuff, and I was like, you know what? I just do the same thing every game. I just point and shoot. It's probably not that bad. I think I played the top 4 and the top 8 on stream.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was the easy list to play. I think. I don't know. I just figured might as well, right? If I'm going to be on it for top 4, might as well just be on it. Or if I'm going to be on it potentially for the finals, just be on it for top 4.
Ooh, that confidence.
Yeah, I said potentially. I 100% looked up the. Someone told me the stats on the me versus 5X1 game. I should have lost that one 100%.
oh yeah, you've. Oh man, we were watching that and we were like, wow, I cannot believe Duncan pulled this out, especially after like the first like 2 rounds there where
I
things
lost
got
a
really.
Discord droid for nothing. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great.
It turns out apparently that's what you're supposed to do and end up winning a game is just throw away a Discord droid right at the beginning of the game. So,
Yeah, I learned from the best. But I mean, the saying is better lucky than good, right?
At least sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, Dion, if you asked the question, would you rather be lucky or good? I would say lucky 100% of the time too.
There. Well, there you go. All right, so at this point, time has expired. This is the last turn. Duncan, you have 67 points. Paul, you're at 92. Duncan, you gotta take out like 2 droids.
Yeah, we did the math at some point during this, and we were like, okay, he needs to kill 2 droids, or if you did half on Chertek.
Yeah, that last turn really threw off my my game plan. Just for the fact that I didn't get as many points as I wanted. If I had killed you, I think I would have been ahead on points, and I could have just run away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Duchess could have burned her second afterburners and been range 5 and whatnot, so and the Cincture could have just bugged out the other way. Didn't work out that way. I had to take some risks here, and I think I didn't get it again.
So for anybody wondering, the Pikachu is a crit token. I know.
It's one of my prized possessions.
And Paul, same question about playing on stream to you.
Oh, I don't care about it anymore. I've played on stream so many times that, like, I win some, I lose some on stream, but I don't mind being on it at all. Because then, especially, that goes back to I prefer losing by mistakes. Because if I lose, then I often go back and watch the stream over to make sure I'm correct in why I lost. So I think about it like, oh, yep, that's where I screwed it up, and bid on that guy when I should have gone over to this other guy.
But now that's out there forever for people to shame you.
I don't need to prove anything anymore. Whatever.
That's fair.
It's very true. You know what? I didn't actually put this in the intro. So Paul Heaver, if you don't know, 3-time world champion for X-Wing. Duncan Howard, System Open champion. Was it national champion? Nationals?
Yeah, I've won a national.
Yeah. So, and both just top worlds finishes as well, top cuts, all the things. If you don't know Duncan Howard and Paul Heaver, welcome to X-Wing. You must be new. 2 very good players, and I'm gonna be a little cheesy. 2 good people. I like them a lot. I've gotten to hang out with them quite a bit. I like them.
But also, as we're speaking right now, I'm still the Emperor of Medicine.
You are the Emperor of Medicine.
It's a fun title to have.
And I think
this is where we're doing tons of math just to figure out like
I think
how you win, because I'm at this point like whatever shots I happen to get, I'm going to try to get that last point into Duchess, because the extra 30 points will obviously cause me to win. But like it doesn't, like nothing matters to me. They're all going to be unmodified shots because for some reason I only have one calculate token on my entire board this round. I don't know what I was doing.
It was a very strange last turn for you. You just kind of like put Chertek on a cloud and then like took him off.
And then he left. I don't know why.
I think you were trying to bait me into shooting him, right?
I think I thought that he's gonna still be behind if he shoots Chertek.
But if I half Chertek here,
you actually win by one.
No, we tie because it's 50. Oh, I get 26
You get 26
points, and then I do win.
And then you win by one.
Yeah,
so,
but the math wasn't there.
Yeah,
It
so
was like reach 3 obstructed, I think. But I had crack shot and whatnot. So
yeah, so I should have totally kept him on the cloud and just been like, whatever, go ahead, try to take a shot at Chertek. But here, like I throw away the token over to this guy, so now he's tractored. And I pushed him forward thinking, well, maybe I'll dodge Suntir's Arc here. And I totally didn't again. So yeah, I'm still in Suntir's Arc. And he's going to
range 1, 2, if I recall correct.
Maybe. Sure.
And here's
who remembers?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Paul, you want to hold our own Coruscant? Just you and me?
So yeah, I was actually thinking about that. I was like, so it's me and you, and like, Tebow, was there like one European one?
Tebow, you won UK, right?
Yeah. Was there only one European system open? I don't even remember.
I think there was just one. Yeah, Timo Rabe.
Timo Rob.
Yep.
Yeah, he won double fire spray.
Yep.
Yeah. So the three of us will get together and have our own Coruscant.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, so what they're referring to, just in case you don't know, the System Open Series, the intent is that each of the champions comes together, and one of the days of the World Championship event weekend, those champions form teams, and there's a big team event. It happened at the last Worlds. It was planned for this one. Not sure how the next one will work, but you know,
I honestly think the next one's going to be in 2021. So that's
you're not wrong.
Find out.
Yeah, I can say with pretty good certainty the way things are looking, we're not going to have Worlds this year anyway.
And that's the word from the Emperor of Medicine.
Ah, God, yeah, Florida screwing it up for everybody. Thanks, Florida.
Okay, so here's the die rolls that really matter, and
you got the 3.
So 3 hits. So you pop that guy, he just dies.
Hooray!
I threw him into it was range 2, but I just threw him in. He just explodes, and I go, well, well.
And
you still need to kill this other guy.
Yeah, it still took away a shot I would have been taking too on defense.
Oh yeah.
Then here it comes, the most disheartening.
You took the evade.
This is for the win right here.
Actually works out in the end. So it's for the win,
and rolled 3 eyeballs into an eyeball.
4 eyeballs. Feels so bad, but I would have gotten halved later on.
Yeah, I think we figured out it wouldn't matter.
It didn't really matter. All the decisions I think we determined looking back at this, because I've done this on crate tape as well, all the decisions end up being correct in the end. Like not spending crack shot on that droid the previous turn and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like you shouldn't leave points on the table, but it didn't matter in this point.
And here's a shot back.
Look, I dodged it. Easy money. That's why I needed the evade. I would have taken a crit and gone to half on Duchess.
Yep.
Awesome. So, as Paul tries to finish off these ships here, I want to remind everybody who is watching, you are watching the Campaign Against Cancer Telethon event here.
Guy.
I'm sorry.
The disabled guy got 1 hit. And like would have gotten the half points on Duchess there if Duncan didn't just roll evades, but so close.
It's like you don't know me at all, Paul.
I was really rooting for weapon disabled guy to do a point of damage at some
if he
point.
did, I would have been so mad. And then You lose the system open by 5.
So
Yep.
close. Yeah, that final score there, 87-92.
F's in the chat.
An absolutely awesome game. I want to say thank you to both of you guys for participating and helping out the Campaign Against Cancer Telethon, which, while you two are not live right now, in our current present, the people who are watching live in the future, when they get to see this for the first time, hopefully they're donating, and we're trying to make those goals. And anything, would you like to encourage the people to help us as the X-Wing community meet our goal for the CAC Telethon?
Yeah, guys, donate. It's a good cause. And thank Dion for all the hard work he does. He edited this video so we would have to spend less time on it.
So saith the Emperor of Medicine.
Oh, also wear a mask, please. Even in the future, like whenever this airs, you should probably still be wearing a mask.
I mean, it's soon, so yes.
It's very soon. Yes, wear a mask, please. It's not going to be over in 2 weeks, or however long this is going to take. Wear a mask. It protects other people, and protects those people's other people.
All right, and let's see what the CAC Telethon has up next.
If I turn my microphone on. Thank you, Dion. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for Duncan for spending the time going through that game again, giving us something to watch and be a part of. Thanks for doing that. So we are at more prizes. So in this the last round, the people that won coins. So we have Battle Bunker Games that won a coin. We have Daniel Lim. Plo Koon was won by Gavin Dorrington, and Dan Pearson, you won the Royal Naboo N1. Now, coming up, we have one more Royal Naboo to give away. So in the next hour and a half, you can still win our last one of these. So please continue to give just $10, and you will be entered into the raffle. You can win an N1, you can win a Plo Koon, you can win a CAC coin, all of which are just a fantastic value for that $10. So please continue to give. Please continue to help us to help others. As we learned from this morning, every little bit helps. And so we thank you so far for what you have done, and really hope that by the end of the day we can be so much more closer to our goal. Now we want to take a moment to step in with Chris Chico Brown, community member. He's also a board member of Twin Sons Charities. Chris, you are joined by Mr. Ryan and Mr. Steven. Can you tell us a little about what you guys are going to talk about?
Yeah, we're going to be going over some community building stuff. This whole thing is about taking our game and becoming something bigger. So I wanted to bring in some people who have done that in various aspects and chat with them about what they do and why they do it.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to step out, let you guys have this conversation. But Ryan and Steven, just thank you for coming on board. Thank you for being a part of this with us. And you guys have fun. We'll talk to you. Later.
All right. Thanks. Okay. So as Chad mentioned, my name is Chris Chico Brown. I am one of the vice presidents of Twin Sons Charities, helping put this all together. And I wanted to get some people together from the community and discuss what it means to go from being a player to building something bigger, giving back to the community, either by creating software, by generating content for podcasts, being involved in events. There are so many ways to get involved and make this community awesome, because I think we'd all agree that this community is super awesome, and a lot of that is because of the people who have volunteered their time to build it up. So with me is Ryan Farmer from the Fly Better podcast. Say hi, Ryan.
What is up, X-Wing community? How we doing? Chico, thanks for having me on, dude. Really honored that I was able to somehow schmeagle my way into the CAC-a-thon.
Yeah, and we've also got Stephen Kim here, aka Rathos from Yasby. Say hi.
Hello, it's me again, maybe.
Hello.
Yeah. So for those of you who may not know me, I already mentioned I'm part of the charity. The beginning of all this, we had to write some software to build up this event we were doing. So that was the birth of Cryodex for
Cryodex!
you who are aware of that. And Cryodex got me into the judging community because people were using that. So I started talking to judges, and then judging got me into podcasting. So I've been in a little mix of all these things. It's been a really fun ride, and being able to go from just being a player and organizing little local things to going to these big events and being involved in it. It's been really cool. So I wanted to bounce around to you guys first and kind of get your story of how you guys got started and what was the jump from being just a player to I want to do something else and making your project.
Yeah, I'll start first. I'd been a player for I don't know 4 or 5 months, and I wasn't very good, and I was new. But I had been playing with Dallas Parker, former runner-up Worlds at the time, and obviously D, who's just a giant jerk. But I had thought that I'd always wanted to sort of do a podcast on something. I went to college for like a broadcasting degree and stuff, and I knew how, but like I didn't know what. And everyone has a podcast on something, right? Whether it's like let's eat wings and talk about Friends or whatever. But I don't know. This seemed at the time I don't remember when it was when we started a little while ago. It's like 5 years ago at this point, 2015. At the time, the only podcasts out there were the Nova Squadron podcast and the Scum and Villainy podcast, and I think the occasional Kessel Run. And when we kicked up, Back to Dials had kicked up like a month before us. So it was like a really weird time for X-Wing because it was starting to gain that like heavy popularity. It was at that upward trajectory. And D and I, when I bamboozled him into doing it, we never thought it was going to be anything. In fact, our first podcast, we specifically were focusing on SoCal, and we were the Minox Squadron podcast represent. And like SoCal area, we had a nice meta. We had a big group of people playing. And we were just going to focus on that. We were going to let Nova and Scum and Villainy and all those guys handle it. Well, Scum and Villainy gave us a shout out, Alex Rawback and all those guys. And then suddenly we started swelling in quote unquote popularity. And it just sort of accidentally cascaded into something bigger. We started a Facebook group, and I don't know. It's always weird when I consider our podcast like popular, but we grew out of just a SoCal perspective, and we eventually moved on to my favorite thing, which is talking about the international meta, getting international guests on and talking and interviewing with all these incredible players and all these incredible people.
Yeah, that's super awesome that you like watching that trajectory over time, going from something small to something huge. I mean, I remember my first time judging Worlds,
right?
And like I remember you guys walking in and just screaming like lunatics, and I'm like, oh great, it's those guys.
Oh my god, I'll never forget that one time we screed, and at Worlds we had a thing where like we'll scree if we need to like come back together for lunch or something, and somebody was like, shut the up, And they're just like, and we were like, oh my god, somebody is not like us, like at all. It was great. It was really good times.
You guys were like the obnoxious people of X-Wing.
We were the crates
thank
before
God
the crates
came.
existed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were. People forget, like we had our we got beef section, and we like called people out, and like we created all this like artificial drama out of nothing, which people love. People love the drama. And so before like Chris and like all the other Chris, all these other guys came together and became even more degenerate, we were like the ones that people hated. We were the heel for a minute.
Yeah. So to jump over to Steven, how do you get your start?
Okay, so I don't remember. It was so long ago. No. So I started playing around the time The Force Awakens was coming out. So
Yeah.
however many years ago that was. The reason why I started playing, and it was awful, just like Ryan, I was terrible at the game for such a long time. But the reason I started playing was because I wanted the cool miniatures, because there was no, at that time, really good model of the T-70, which is still my favorite ship.
Yeah.
And so I started playing, and I just basically, I played like competitive card games in the past, and so I was looking for a tournament scene and missing a game that had that, because I hadn't been playing in any sort of like community game in a while. And so I was like, oh, X-Wing has tournaments. That's great. Let's go and check one of those out. And that was the end. That was me getting locked into it. Because once you're in a tournament and now you're like committed to like trying to win, and so I found my builder online because I needed something to make lists with, because I was like, oh my god, everything's like points. This is like complicated. I don't want to think about this. Like I don't want to do arithmetic. So I found my own builder, and then I was like, okay, this is the best one. We're gonna use this, right? So since then, like I've been using it, and then like fast forward to 2.0 launching or about to launch, and all the rumors, and like everyone in the community at that time who was like doing some sort of software is like, we're not gonna touch 2.0. Like it's FFG's making their own thing. We're just gonna
no thanks.
Back. Everyone's retiring, and then like in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, but like I like that. I like that builder. And so we're getting closer and closer to the launch date of 2.0, and I am like, and the PDF release with all the points, and it's like, oh, okay, great, we can start building lists, but we have no builders to build with. And look, it's been like a couple of years at this point, and I'm spoiled, and I can't go back. I can't go back to using calculator. So I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Yasby is open source. I can just like convert it to 2.0, right? Like there's nothing that could possibly go wrong here. If me and a couple guys like spend an hour, we can like convert the points over, and then just kind of like make a hobble together like rudimentary version of it that then we can use. And that's what we did. And then I was like, well, I want this for me, but I guess all the other people who help, they should have access to it too. So then I might as well just upload it for them to use. And then so I think one of them posted it into Reddit, and then everybody started using it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a thing now. All right, cool. And remember that I said that this was like a hobbled together thing that I just kind of put together really quickly because we just wanted to calculate points. So it was broken. Well, I mean, it was functioning, but like there was like typos, and like we were just like things were wrong, and like it was just like, it's like, fine, this is fine. Like the FFG's official builder is going to come out. It's no big deal. And then it came out.
Big yikes, dog.
And
big yikes.
And it was fine. It was fine. So we just kept fixing it. And at that time, so like the people who follow both who follow Fly Better will know that at the time when it was coming out, and it was like it had lots of mistakes, right? And so that's where like kind of the Diyun Yasby rivalry started, was because I basically didn't care enough about it to update it because I didn't think it was going to be a permanent thing. And then I got dunked on by D for no reason.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, let's shoot back, because that's not okay.
Yasby hates D, the best timeline.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, there is still a little Easter egg somewhere in the site, dunking on D.
It's great.
It's not gone. It's just more well hidden.
I think my favorite, there was a whole span of like bug reporting and other stuff where like it was just you, I think you were responding like I hate D, but I heard you, like I heard your bug, I hate D or something. It was awesome. It was really good.
that was a stroke. Say I don't take credit, or I don't like to toot my own horn that much, because like it's not like you just heard my story. Like I was not the hero of that story, right? But the one thing I will be very, very, I'll take credit for and be very like proud of myself is that bug submission. So Yasby has a bug submission. It's on GitHub. Like if you have something that's wrong with the site, or like you find an issue, you can quickly make an account and submit a bug report, and then we can go through the process of like finding it and fixing it and whatnot, right? And while the Diyun thing was going on, I needed a way to one up myself, and in a way that was like not like ostentatious. So I was like, what could I do? And it's like, oh, I know. I'll make in the bug submission report that if you have a bug, well, you can do something about it. However, if the bug is that you're Diyun, then go F yourself. Right?
So good.
So the best part was that when D submitted a bug report saying that I guess it's me, and it's like that's working as intended, and I'm like, well, I'm really sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, we can't do anything.
We can't
about
help
that
you.
time.
It's so good.
Yeah, so I can kind of mirror a lot of your story,
right?
Because when I got started, it was just I was in a meeting with Chad, and we were putting together this first CAC event, and we were trying out different pieces of software to run an event, and in this wackadoo format that Chad had in his head, and nothing could handle it because he had just invented some new format. So we were like, how do we handle this? And like an idiot, I raise my hand and say, Chad, do you know what I do as a day job? and
it's always
like,
the
no,
dangerous line, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. It's like, I write software. I could do this. So
dangerous.
So, like you said, I hobbled something together for just my one use. And we ran it. It worked. And I tested it out. Widely available. And I was like, well, I'm not really, but I guess I could get you a copy. And then after the event, I had knee surgery because I tore my ACL, and some people encouraged me to go ahead and like make it better and distribute it to people. So over the course of the time through that and with a lot of Vicodin, I hammered out the stuff and made it like as decent as I could, and then just threw it out to somebody who was like, cool, I'm gonna run a regional now. It's like, panic. It's like I was not ready for something that big, but Sean Dorsey ran it through the ringer. That guy would simulate
sure.
200 plus person tournaments just for the fun of it, like on there.
It's still the standard though. That's the thing. Like we have all these like it's been years and years and years, and still the most reliable thing if you're gonna do a tournament like is Cryodex. It's incredible. Just it just works.
yeah, that was my one goal all along was that it's not going to be fancy. It's not going to be the easiest to use. There might be a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
But for the love of God, I do not want to have a tournament fall apart in the middle because of what I'm doing. And
man, can you imagine having a tournament fall apart in the middle and someone like shouting matchups? Now that would be a major embarrassment.
Right.
That's what that would be. That would be only scrubs run tournaments that happens in.
Who could conceive an event that would even run like that?
Who could conceive an event that runs that without Cryodex as a backup? At least, man, I can't.
But the downside of that is you don't get a lot of features. So that's something that like and that kind of leads into my next question on here of what kind of complications have you ran into. Is that for me, like I've always gotten two questions over the course of this. One of them was when are you going to go online? Because other pieces of software, did it. And when are you going to come out with an app for Android? I was eventually able to come out with the app because by super happy fun times, I tore the same ACL again. So I was like, well, what am I going to do while I'm recovering from this one? So
wait, this is a bad precedent. Though you shouldn't say that, because now people are going to realize that if they need new Cryodex features, they need to injure you.
They're coming after that knee.
Somebody suggested that when they wanted an iPhone app version, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. But yeah, so going into that, the community actually bought me a laptop, because my laptop at the time, this piece of junk sitting over here, couldn't handle running the virtual machine that you need to do a phone. So the community was super nice and bought me this nice Star Wars special edition laptop.
Dank.
And I was able to use that. I taught myself how to code Android, threw it together, and it's not great, but it functions. But so that's always been one of those complications of people asking for more than you're able to provide,
right.
or want to provide, because I mean there's a balance of how much I want to do and how much I can do. So I'll flip this over to you, Ryan. What
Sure.
kind of complications have you run into with your project?
Well, really early on, I had to make a choice on whether I was going to dip my toes into live streaming games and and elevate the podcast in a direction besides just podcasting. But I do video and film stuff and that kind of work in my real person life, and the podcasting felt like an escape for me. And sort of crossing those streams, mixing the two together, I felt was only going to stress me out a lot more. And when your job becomes your hobby and your hobby becomes your job and all that comes together, there is no sort of escape. So I opted really early on to not do any sort of streaming or anything like that. And I'm so glad that there was and there were several people, but Dion specifically was able to become the God Emperor. I mean, a lot of you guys are probably watching this on the Gold Squadron stream, of taking that challenge on and adding that extra multimedia component to X-Wing, because I think without the sort of streaming that we have, the support we have, the game doesn't get as popular as it is, and it's sort of mutually beneficial for everybody. When people can watch games, people can talk about games, then people can listen to our horrible podcast. The other kind of complication that arose that I never really foresaw coming was having a Facebook group that was bigger than I expected it to ever be, in the sense that, like, there was actual like moderation that needed to happen. And in general, the X-Wing community is just incredible. And like I'm on like JRPG groups and like 40K groups, like not to like put people down, but I'm in other groups where it's just like way worse. But you look at like in general, the X-Wing community is just great. Like I have Ben Keller as a mod as a joke because I don't actually need mods. But there have been times where things get heated, and I think there are times when the community is split on stuff. The one that I remember is the big playtesting leak that happened. Someone leaked a whole bunch of playtesting points, and that was bad. That was like real bad. And so having to take hard stances, as eventually you find yourself as a leader of the community, which I still don't even like, that label doesn't feel right, but having to like take a stand on something and say, we're not gonna like post leaks here, we're not gonna talk about leaks here, that always felt like strange, that something that either myself or D or other respected members of the community, sorry Steven, would say would actually get followed. So I guess those are the things that I've dealt with.
Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of those discussions.
Sure.
Just seeing some of those downward spirals of any vocal community, especially like Facebook groups and comments and stuff like that, where people are able to be online and say whatever they want to. And there's like there are always chunks of every community that are gonna be like way out there and cause problems, and having like realizing that suddenly you have to be dad.
Yeah. I don't like being dad. Being dad's no fun. I'd rather I want to be like the cool brother, or at least the brother that people aren't mad at. But that's sometimes you just gotta put your foot down though.
Right. But thank God all of those people stay in the Crate Facebook group, and there's no way for them to get out, right?
Well, except when they nuked it. This is your fault.
Absolutely.
This is your fault. Yeah, you snapped the Crate group, and they all came to me. I had to deal with all of them. The nuclear fallout from you, like getting rid of all the degenerates. Where'd they come back to me?
Yep.
It's ridiculous, outrageous.
All right, Steven, what kind of complications have you run into?
D.
Yeah, that guy. He's actually number 1, 2, and 3 on my list. No. Okay. Well, so I mean, complications wise. So here's the thing: is that like I have the great benefit of people of like my front-facing personality being a website and not a person.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: nobody cares about my opinion. It's really irrelevant. I mean, I go on podcasts and I talk and I have great opinions. At least I think so. But thanks, Ryan. But for the most part, like nobody cares, and that's great because then I can say whatever I want and nobody really will like raise a stink about it, right? And so like I don't run into Ryan's problems at all ever. And yeah, like so like I don't, other than the random D thing, like, and people asking me for a phone version of Yasby, like doesn't really matter to me. And also like if people do bring up concerns, if they're technical bugs, I try to fix them. If they're feature requests, as long as they're not insane, I try to implement them. And if it's like some sort of outrageous request, I just kind of ignore them because I can, because I'm a website. I'm not a person, so it doesn't matter.
Can I get Yasby VR for my VR headset? Can I, while I'm in squadrons, pull up Yasby?
So you know how I told you that I just got an Oculus Quest myself?
Yeah.
The first thing I did was I made a desktop shortcut to Yasby so that I could build lists in
Build lists in the
VR.
virtual reality.
That is ridiculous.
Because you can open the browser and then make a
Yeah.
shortcut, and then you just do it. So like,
It's so good.
And it's weird, but actually pointing and clicking feels more intuitive than the mouse clicking. So
yeah.
So I don't know why that is, but it just, Yasby in 3D is really.
You know
good.
what? And you've infected me, Steven, because I used to call it Yasib, but now I call it Yasby like everyone else does. Like
that was an ironic, like, huge debate.
It was
like,
no
for a
joke.
while.
Was.
like how do you pronounce this thing? It's just
Yasb.
ridiculous. So I think that kind of tangents us into our.
Wait.
Oh yeah, sure, go.
I have to talk about this, the name thing, because so I actually actively try to avoid calling it by anything, because Yasby is an acronym, so it's just like, well, it's YSB or it's yet another Squad Builder 2.0, right?
Right.
But so like when people would say it, I'm just like, yeah, that's a name.
But you had to take a stand at some point.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or come up with something better.
Yet another.
Yeah. So I briefly wanted to have you guys mention what's coming up in the future for your project. Do you have any exciting plans you want to share with anybody?
Well, for me, we wrapped up the Jank Tank Open, which we partnered with Gold Squadron for last month. And that was something that was like really important to me because that was another charity event that we ran. And we ended up like over $3,000 ended up getting donated to charity. And that was just incredible to me. For those listening who don't know, Jank Tank Open is where we had over 400, I think it was 430 people play a single elimination tournament where the squads were randomly generated for you. And you were stuck with, you got two choices, you got to swap upgrades, whatever. But that was just something that was really fun for me to do as a different format. And for me, I think sometimes the list building and aspect of X-Wing gets in the way of the fun of X-Wing in a couple ways, because once the meta comes in, it can get unfun. But when that stress is put aside and you just know, like, this is what I'm flying, like it's a whole bunch of jank, it's just like junk, and I'm gonna fly against other junk. The real fun, like, you forget that X-Wing's a good time on the table. So I want to do a second one of those for charity again. I don't know when we're gonna set it up. I don't know what's gonna happen there. D and I have talked a lot about some other maybe things that we have in the pipeline that are more serious, perhaps, in terms of like the competitive meta, because our podcast is very focused on talking about the competitive meta and there are no in-person things happening. So I guess Jank Tank 2 Electric Screegaloo is something that I would like to do in the next couple months.
That'd be cool. How about you, Steven? You building onto that VR or anything to enhance?
I've got nothing.
Nothing.
Yasby is perfect and doesn't need any improvement.
You know what? Wait, real quick, Chico. Let's just say that like you're right hot off the heels off Steven just finishing tons of quality of life adjustments on Yasby, like the way it looks, the way it operates. Like, Steven, I really think you should talk about some of the stuff you've just recently done in the past like 2 months that have just like, it's so much better now. You have so many added like hidden features that are just like great.
Oh, man.
No joke.
So here, I'll share the story because Ryan knows the story, but Chico, you probably don't. So there was like this period during quarantine where like suddenly like there's all of these like rash of improvements that just start happening, right? And they just come out of nowhere. And I'll talk about the specific improvements in a second, but like I'm like firing these off, and I'm like telling Ryan about them. He's like, "Oh my god, amazing! Oh my god, amazing!" I'm like, "Yeah." So I procrastinate on my real job by making Yasby updates, and I really don't want to do anything. And like, there's a lot of things I don't want to do in my real job right now. So we're getting a bunch of improvements, guys. It's just happening. actual improvements, we redid the UI. So
Yeah.
back end, I updated a whole bunch of things. There's like a lot of Node.js packages that were like out of date or really old, and so we just ramped them up to like more current versions, not even the most current version, because that's an entire overhaul again. But that improved the responsiveness a lot, and then I did a bunch of backend improvements further, and then did a bunch of fixes related to Firefox, which then sped the whole thing up really
It's
quickly.
lightning fast. Like, it's just like any
Yeah.
delay there was in Yasby now. It's just quick. It's quick.
Unless you're European. Like if you're using one of the other languages, sorry, but if you're using English, it's super fast now. And then I included the rules browser, which I've been meaning to for like literally 6 months, but I was like, oh, you have to sit down and we had to like copy the rules doc into, code or into an array so that we could access it. And so that I knew that was going to be, so I didn't think that, we would have a global pandemic, so we wouldn't be running tournaments. But I figured when we do run tournaments, people like the judges and stuff like that, be able to quickly access specific terms without having to open a PDF would be super beneficial. So we now have a searchable rules database where you can just quickly swap, like you can check a turn. If I want to look for all the terms with focus in them, I just type in focus and it's all there. Right?
It's great. I know that's been helpful for the Space Jam judges for sure.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah, that's always something that me and Chris Allen thought about doing something similar to that at one point, but like frankly, it's just time and energy is a massive limiting factor sometimes. Like having some sort of database of rules interactions that we wanted to do, and one of our ideas that maybe you'll toss into yours was you've got card A and card B, and maybe you have like a page for card A and like some rules notes on there, and like a thing for card B and some rules notes on there. But then we also had like ways to make combination pages. So if you had some interaction with this pilot and this upgrade, you would have like a brief page for that, and it would have rules notes in there. So essentially it would be like a dynamically generated thing where you could create a page for any combination of cards and have information on how those work together. So if somebody at an event was like, oh man, we got this and this shooting at something over here with this and this, and oh, that interaction's come up, and here's how other people dealt with it, or it's never come up. Okay, we resolved this. Let's throw that in. Here's how this event resolved it.
Sure.
And
here's the thing, Chico. I'm inherently lazy, so
Yeah,
that's
you are.
probably never going to happen.
Same team.
And I think you'll appreciate. This. The way that I made the rules browser was I literally just ripped off the card browser and then gutted all the extra, because it has a lot. The card browser, I don't know if like the stream knows this, but the card browser is incredibly robust. I actually didn't do most of that. Most of the additional stuff was done by Patrick, who's like a German developer, who's like helping out with a lot of the Yasby stuff, right? He just donates his time, and he's wonderful, right? But he actually
Gunboats in the chat for Patrick.
yeah. And he just basically added a whole bunch big section on like that, and I just ripped all that stuff out. I'm like, well, we just need like one search term for rules, and then I just copied that entire system and then pasted it into the new system. So yeah, I'm super lazy, super lazy.
So one of the questions we got from the community that I think would be a great thing to wrap up with is what do you suggest to people in their smaller communities to make an impact and go from like just being a player to being an active contributor in the community? What can they do to help grow their community?
I mean, you want to go, Steven?
Yes, I do. No, I
Well-
don't actually care.
Oh, okay. Oh God. It's really simple. Honestly, like the best way to grow your local community is to, well, it was simple before the pandemic, right? It's to make events happen, right? It's to work on organizing, in whatever way you can, whether that would be, offering at your local game store to TO an event or set up events and work on that consistency. Because one of the biggest things that I did when I was searching when I first got into the game was I would be Googling like where where the local game nights are, and if there's something consistent that I can find on the internet with, I found SoCal X-Wing, which was really useful at the time. And I was like, oh, there are game nights on Tuesdays and Thursdays at these different locations that I can go to and I can play, and there are tournaments on these times, making it accessible for people to find and to discover events is big. But, we are in quarantine times. And while a lot of the world is opening up, the United States certainly isn't for a hot second. And so, we are still having community things happening. And something else you can do is try to get a local Discord group going for people that try to get just something where people can actually chat or actually see conversation happening, and try to schedule some online games like Tabletop Simulator or Vassal, whatever your spice of life is. Teach people how to play online, because I think that, X-Wing, even on Tabletop Simulator, is still really, really fun. And there are people out there right now who just really need an escape, and they really want to interact with a lot of their friends or interact with people that they're maybe stuck in their house all day. Maybe they're only stuck with their kids. Like, oh my God, that's so like, so you providing avenues for people and making it accessible, I think, is really important if you're looking to build something.
Any addition to that, Stephen?
Oh, so many additions. Everything Mike just said. So I have a more general piece of advice, and I'm gonna literally look at my camera and point to chat. Like, listen, guys, listen. Everybody in the chat room, everyone who's watching this video, there are things that bother you, that you complain about, that you wish were better, and you're waiting for someone else to go and do it. So my advice to you is, if you want to be active in the community, is find those things that annoy you or things that you wish were better, and don't wait for somebody else to start that process. Just start that process. Be like, how do I go and do it? And ask around, like, hey, if we wanted to make this thing happen, how would we do that? And if you get answers, then you can just do that. If they're outside your skill set, then you'd be like, okay, find a person to help you do that. And then you just like make them do it. Find a way to make them do it, right? And that's how you make things happen. It's not so much because like that's how Yasby got done. That's how like a lot of these things happened. It's just like it needed to exist, and then as soon as you start the process, and then you realize whether or not people actively need it or not. So if you can just take that first step to be like, hey, let's just start this process, even if it's like a small step. That's how you can get involved and then make things happen to better the entire community. Because we all have things that we whine and moan about, and we wish were better, and we don't do anything about, because it's just like, well, someone else will take care of that, right? No, that person needs to be you.
That's a really good point, Stephen. Like, I don't have any real like tangible skills, like aside from like some like know-how on how to mess around with tech stuff, like video wise. But I've just been able to make some stuff happen because someone knew my name. But even when I didn't know my name, just asking people. There was a time when people would compliment only D on the podcast and they didn't even know who I was. And there, like, when we wanted back in first edition to make objectives happen, like that was a big community. That was a huge undertaking. X-Wing first edition objectives, like the community driven thing. And all it takes is just asking asking around, and it's incredible what kind of like really weird support that you can get. Like great support, but people coming out of the woodworks being like, I know how to do I know how to do that. And let's be honest, there are people who have a lot of free time right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Like the thing is that like if you have a gripe or concern that you think needs to be addressed and you want to make an addressment, there's a good chance there's like 30 other people who feel the same way about it, right? And then like nobody's doing anything because there's no momentum to get going. So if you be that person who starts the momentum, maybe you're not the person who knows how to code or knows how to do whatever. But there's lots of people in here that would be happy to help. They just need someone to direct them.
They just need that project management, right? They just need someone to like have that vision and have that sort of like strength of mind or strength of whatever to rally the troops and say, this is what we need. Like, this is the vision. Let's make this happen.
Yeah. And then these people either buy into the idea or they don't. And if they don't buy into the idea, great. You did your part. You tried. It didn't work out. But as long as like lots of people are doing it, one of these ideas is going to come to the forefront. People are going to onboard. People are going to get excited about it. It's going to actually happen. And then now we've created something that helps the community.
I mean, we're in a situation where like I was a patron of OCX radio and I got we had like there was always jokes about having the final patron reward that they sent out was like a drink holder, and like that, even it's just like when you have the community push behind something, you can make all kinds of like weird stuff appear. I'm not saying that like that kind of stuff is important in any way, though it meant a lot to me. It's like when you get people who are passionate about something, when you get people who really, really care about any sort of topic or any sort of feature or any sort of meme, even, you never know what can come out of it. You never know what sort of thing will spiral and blossom out of it.
Yes. That's 100% it, right?
Yeah, so I completely agree. If there's something you can get started, go for it. The other thing I would say is that if there's something already going on and you'd like to help, feel free to ask those people who are doing it if you can help, because God knows they could probably use the help and would really appreciate it. And finally, if there's not a way for you to help, if you go to an event and there's just too many judges and they don't need your help, make sure you thank those people who are doing those jobs, because we all do this, mostly as a volunteer thing. I mean, we've set up little small fundraiser things here and there, like Patreons and whatnot, but for most of us, this is something we do on a volunteer basis. So those little thanks now and then really go a long way to keeping us going. Which kind of brings me to this whole event. I don't think people realize just how many people are on the background of this whole event to put it together. Like when we initially wanted to start it, we were like, hey, let's do a 24-hour stream, and we're like, what? Like, how are we even going to do this? But the ways that people have come out of the woodwork of people who are really experienced with putting together high quality productions like this and have orchestrated like this massive undertaking has been really impressive to see everybody come together, and the fact that it's working with very few hiccups is awesome. So I'm really happy about that. So we've got like another 15 minutes to do.
Wow.
So,
oh my gosh.
Ooh.
There's one thing I know how to do. It's how to meet our time goal.
So let's go down through some of these community questions. First one on here from Patrick. What is the first rule you should know when judging your first tournament?
Good one.
So somebody's going to be mad at you. Just deal with it. But I would say take the time to make sure you get things answered right.
Yeah.
When you go up to a table, feel free to start a timer and be like, hey, let's take our time and get this right, because there's no reason for us to just burn through a question and get it wrong and then be upset about it. Everybody, take your time, calm down. We're not gonna, you're not gonna get time called on you because we were doing a question. So it's like, take your time, set a little stopwatch, everything will be okay. Any thoughts from you guys?
I'm not really a judge. I've done very, very little judging, but like I know D is very judgmental, and he
True words.
he would say that at least familiarize yourself with the rules reference. Read through it before you judge if you can. And by doing that, you're just sort of through osmosis, like sucking that that power juice into your brain so that you have stuff ready to answer.
Yep.
So I haven't done judging for X-Wing as much, but I've judged other games in the past and run tournaments in the past. And the big thing for me is just keep a level head. Like, don't worry too much about hiccups or that kind of stuff. Those things just happen. You just got to roll with them. And as long as you don't look panicked, everyone else around you won't be panicked. So as long as you're calm and collected and moving on whenever things happen, that trickles down and everyone else feels, it just lowers the panic in the room for everybody else, because they're all looking to you to decide, like, oh, is this a bad thing or is this a good thing? What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and eventually you're going to have to be the bad guy to somebody. So
Exactly.
you pick something, you stick with it, and move on, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and if you have that confidence, and then you're cool and level headed, a lot of the times you can diffuse any sort of like potential argument that might come up, because it's like, no, this is just how it's going to be, and if you have a problem, we can talk about it later, but just going to move on.
Yep. And I've definitely had those situations where I had to tell somebody, is like, okay, I get it, you're upset, but this is how it is, let's move on. And then, like, after the game, I'd have a deeper discussion with them, and we'd either like help them understand why we made those decisions, or we'd all of a sudden come to the realization of, oh, maybe we should have gone the other way. It's like, I'm sorry, I might have ruined your day. It's like, that's on me. Oh well.
One last thing
we're all just people, right?
One last thing I would add is that no one's going to remember you. Like, if you feel like embarrassed that you got a call wrong, or even if like you think someone's mad at you, like, that may be harsh to say, but like, no one remembers events really. Like, even the Roanoke 8 was such a big deal at the time, and no one like really even remembers that at all. Like, about half the people listening don't even know what that is. Time heals all things. Like, there's a very, very low chance that anything you say or do will at some point be someone will remember.